example, if the full moon is on the 14th of August or August 14, I actually start my new moon principle as early as the 12th. Now, I like to do things on a 7-day cycle. So 2 days prior to the full moon, I would start burning my candles. I would burn them for 2 days prior to the full moon. I would then burn them for 3 days to encompass the power of the full moon. And then I would allow 2 days on the decline or the waning side of the moon. So just to sort of nicely neaten off the energy that we haven't sort of just come to an abrupt halt. Now, what do I do specifically to burn candles for the full moon? One of the first things that I like to look at is a full moon is something that means that it is full. So if we're full up to the brim in our lives and we want to start attracting new things into our lives, what have we got to do? We've got to release something. We've got to let go of something. We've got to empty something. If you imagine your life being like a bucket of water and you can't put any more in, otherwise it's going to overflow. But if you want something fresh and new or some fresh new water into the bucket, you have to empty some or tip some out so that there's a space. Well, that's what I see the full moon as being, as an opportunity for us to release things that we've either completed or no longer serve us in our lives. And we have the opportunity to do this every month, to release things. Now, sometimes projects or situations in our lives, we can't just release all in one go. Sometimes they're a very ongoing, lengthy process, and particularly when you're dealing with emotions. And I always try and teach people to sort of work with a principle. If you work with sort of 3 things you're going to put on your piece of paper that you're hoping to release or you're working on for the release, but I always like to balance the scales and sort of put underneath that 3 things that maybe I'm hoping to attract into my life, or 3 things that I think need some fresh new energy, some new focus. So it's sort of like the balancing act of the in and the out, or the out and the in. I always believe that there must be balance in our lives, because otherwise then we create an imbalance, and that doesn't necessarily give us the right energy moving forward. And people sort of always ask me, but Amanda, I can't think of 3 things that I want to release in my life. Look, it can be simple things like I've been working really, really hard on not being such a negative person, that I'm really trying to be very conscious of everything that I talk about and conversations that I have are of a positive, upbeat nature. So you could put that at the top of your list. I am working really hard on releasing the negative energy or my negative responses or the ways that I look at things out of my life. So then on the bottom of your list there, you would be replacing that with I'm working towards adding more positivity, bringing more positive directions and thought patterns into my life. So again, you see that balance of the up and the down of the scales. And that's really, really important. So I like to work on this score since, I have candles that work for both. I like to work on sort of working with a full moon candle, and I also work with the candle of the energy of the moment. So this week I'm going to feature the full moon candle first and foremost. Now this is the full moon candle. Now with these extra large candles, they have 2 wicks, and I like to light 1 wick one day and 1 wick the next day. And as I've mentioned to you recently on the show, with the candle looking as if it's shrinking a little bit, that's just from the cold weather. And that's how you can tell something is a naturally hand-poured soy wax candle. If they start shrinking away from the glass container, you know that they are really a natural product. If they're a petrochemical candle, they don't have the same effect. So with the full moon candle, I like to light it, and I work with the energy of my 3 things that I've written on my piece of paper that I'm releasing, and the 3 things that I'm hoping to attract into my life on the same piece of paper. I would write 2 identical lists. And the reasons why I do that is because I like to put one list underneath my full moon candle. Now I read it out aloud as I'm writing the candle, putting the piece of paper that I've written my full moon requirements on. I put that underneath the candle on a coaster. Then I would light the candle from anywhere from 15 minutes to 2 hours per day. It doesn't need to be at exactly the same time every day, but I like to keep the momentum going of the 7 days, as I've previously explained to you, at my reasons why for that with the full moon. So that's the first candle that I would light. Then I would also light my Aquarian candle. because this month it's the new moon, the full moon in Aquarius, I beg your pardon. So again, same principles apply. Write your list, pop it underneath the candle, on the coaster, on the furniture, so that, because the glass containers do get hot. The soy wax doesn't get hot, but the glass container can get hot, and we don't want it to crack. And also you don't want to scorch your furniture. So that's a really important process to get into the habit of when you're working with candle energy. And please never leave a candle unattended. They are fire after all, and we don't want accidents to happen. For those of you that want to work with a smaller set that sort of say, look, I don't have a really big area to burn 2 extra large candles, you can buy one of these gift box sets where you can make it up with your own combination of what you're looking for out of the 28 candles in our range. This month, I've taken the 2 air sign candles, 2 Aquarian candles, and a full moon candle in the middle. But you can make it up with anything that you particularly like. So these candles will burn for about 15 hours, same principles apply. And for those of you that don't want to work with a candle but still want to work with the energy of the full moon or any particular candle, you can pick up a melt warmer at your local department store. Very inexpensive. These are electric. I take a teaspoon each of the waxes at the beginning of my full moon cycle. Pop it in my melt warmer. Each day I would then take another half a teaspoon and put it in the melt warmer. The advantage of a melt warmer is that, yes, you write out one list, you read it out aloud, you pop it under your melt warmer like you do your candle on the table. You can leave this going, and it's very safe to leave going because it can be going all day. So every time that you walk past it, whether you're at home or you've got it on the office desk at work, you can keep reaffirming your intention, purpose and direction of what you were burning your candles for, in this case, or having your melt warmer on. So that's just another way of working with candle magic. Now, as I said, this particular full moon is very powerful, but there's a number of things that have been happening astrologically and will continue to happen for a while now. But let's sort of start at the very beginning. This month, in the energy of Leo, we have the sun, obviously, because it's the sun in Leo's turn, conjunct or holding hands with Venus. Now, Venus is the planet of love and affection. So it's really the time when not just Leos, but every other star sign is looking to be heard, is looking for people to sort of admire them, pay them a compliment, say, wow, you look nice today, or gee, I like your earrings, or I like your hairdo, or gee, that's a nice suit, or whatever. We're all looking for that little bit of recognition. It's something that we can puff our chest out and say, wow, I'm really important. Everybody's taking notice of me, and we like that as individuals. And don't tell me you don't, because we all do like praise, no matter who we are. Now, very widely or very loosely, it's holding hands with the planet of Mars as well. Now, Mars is the planet of action, direction, energy, things like that. So there's quite a lot of fiery, sort of outspoken sort of energy that is actually sort of happening in the sign of Leo at the moment. So if you can imagine that Leo energy of craving and needing attention is almost magnified at the moment, and everybody's running around the globe trying to be the person that's in the limelight, somebody that's getting the most attention, and that can sometimes upset other people or put people on, you know, a watch situation where they think you're getting more attention than them, so they try and outdo you in some sort of way. So this can bring about not necessarily positive reactions or people behaving in a positive manner all the time. So we have to make a few allowances for that. Now, that's the first part. Then, you know, we've got the full moon in the opposite sign of Aquarius. So it's like this push-pull situation of people sort of trying to get their message across, and the Aquarian energy is about intellect and ideas and trying to find a different way of bringing something to the attention of the public. And it's sort of like almost in a sense a detached sort of energy. So it's sort of almost like the opposite energy of what the Leo energy is, where look at me, where the Aquarian energy is saying, look, you know, I appreciate you want to look at me, but just keep your distance. You know, like I've got a lot of things that I'm sorting out in my mind. So it's a very powerful time this year. But also we've just had the completion of Jupiter, the planet of opportunity and expansion, has just finished its retrograde or going backwards energy for the last 4 months, and it's sitting in Sagittarius. So now we should start to feel a little bit more relaxed in some of the things that we've been trying to get off the ground, or maybe give them a push start, or sort of, bring about things or opportunities into our lives. We sort of feel like now we've got a little bit of renewed enthusiasm. Things are going to start to sort of move forward. And yes, they probably will. But I just want to err on the side of caution, because not only with this tremendous push for sort of excitement and feeling very buoyant and sort of saying, well, it's ready, it's all systems go, let's move forward now. We have another planet has just gone retrograde, which is also one of the outer planets, which is called Uranus, and we quite often talk about that here on the show. It's the planet of the unusual and the unexpected happenings. Now, Uranus is sitting in Taurus, has been for a few years now, and will be there for quite some time yet. But this retrograde phase for Uranus will go through until January 2020. So that's a 5-month long transit where Uranus is actually seen to be going backwards in the universe. Now, what does this mean for us lay people? What it means around the world, we're going to see some very strong changes connected with money, finances, and how we look at the things that are important to us in our lives. Now, this can be on a very personal level. It could be that you're reorganizing your finances. You're looking at different ways. Money mightn't be as important to you as it once was, where, you were working yourself fingers to the bone, where you think, well, what's that getting me other than I can buy these wonderful things in life? Do they really make me happy, or is it time to pull back a little bit and spend some quality time with the people that I love, and that's more important to me? So there'll be a number of people looking at things like that. On the political or world stages, I think we're going to see some very interesting surprises, and I don't necessarily use that word lightly. The word surprise to me isn't always a good thing. It's something that we weren't aware of, or something that we've been taken by surprise. We weren't expecting that response or that reaction. It's going to be very tricky over these few months as we see things play out on political world stages. No matter where you are around the world, things are changing. Whether we voted for them or not, they are changing, and it's a very uncertain period of time. And particularly as people are sort of trying to convince the masses that they're doing this for their own good, that this is the value systems that they should be aspiring to have, and that you voted for, and I'm just listening to you, and I'm just giving you more of what you asked for, whether you really wanted it or not. This is my interpretation of what your message was to me when you voted for me. So this is where I think in some ways political leaders need to be a little bit more careful of their own egos and keep their own ego in check, and really understand what the masses were trying to tell them, or why they voted them in, or why did they give them that vote of confidence. It wasn't so that they could just have a mandate to do as they pleased, as they seem to think. So it's going to be very interesting as we see Uranus work its magic through Taurus. And because it is retrograde, some people sort of look at a retrograde planet and say, oh, it doesn't have as much power. I personally don't think that. I think it's just sort of almost like it's not showing you its full hand. It's sort of like the power's still there, but I'm doing it in a more gentle, more subtle sort of way, that when I do strike, or when I do move to make a change or to create an opening, you won't miss it. It'll be very definite, and you'll say, wow, where'd that come from? And that's going to be how Uranus is going to work. So it's going to be a very powerful time heading towards us as we head towards the end of this year. So I hope that helps you understand a little bit more about where the energies are going. But Uranus is still joining 3 other planets that are retrograde at the moment: Pluto, Neptune, and Saturn. So these are all outer moving, slow moving planets. So we're going to see some probably massive changes on world stages, and politically, even locally for you. Keep your ears tuned, because I think there's going to be some very interesting conversations as we see people coming out and blowing their own trumpet, so to speak. But we're going to talk to Jasmine now in Eckhart in Indiana. Are you there, Jasmine?
Yes.
How can I help you tonight, sweetie?
Wait, could you repeat that again? Sorry.
Do you have a question I can work with, Jasmine?
Yes, I just want to know, about me personally. I've been feeling I've been downing myself from people in my life, for leaving and things like that, when I shouldn't be downing myself. And I've been questioning myself, why would they leave me after all the things I've done for them and we've been through and stuff like that.
I'm sorry to hear that, Jasmine, that you've had such a difficult period of time where you've had, such transitions going on around you. Unfortunately, sweetheart, you're not alone in this sort of, world like this. A lot of people are feeling this at the moment as, all the planetary stuff I was just talking about is sort of taking hold. But I think yours has been going on a little bit longer than just a week or a month. I think this has been a progression that's been happening over a number of years now. And it's got to the point now that you're starting to question, have you done something wrong? Is this, the reasons why things are happening to you? And the answer is, sweetie, no, it's not. It's just that it's hard to explain because sometimes we do things and we do things for people. We do it genuinely, as I believe you did. You did it genuinely with an open heart and you tried to help other people, and you weren't necessarily looking for some great applause or a great big thank you or anything like that, but you just sort of believed somewhere along the line there would be some sort of thank you or some sort of recognition, or even if they didn't outwardly say it, their actions would show you that. And these people have just sort of taken and taken and taken from you, and then there's nothing. And you sort of think, well, what did I do to deserve that? Like, I've given you everything. I've done everything I possibly can for you as a friend or a family member. And then there's sort of literally nothing in return except the door slams shut in my face. Darling, all as I can say to you is sometimes these are karmic situations, things that are out of our control, things that we came here to complete or finish off in this lifetime. And it doesn't make it any easier as a human being to understand this when we go through these transitions. Do you mind sharing with me your birth date, Jasmine?
December 17th, 1999.
Which year, sweetie? Which month, darling?
The month?
Yes.
December,
did you say?
yes.
Okay. So you're a Sagittarian. That's really interesting because this was supposed to be the really lucky year for Sagittarians, and being a fellow Sag like you, I can understand the transitions that you're going through, because it's also, I think, even though it's supposed to have been an incredibly lucky year and a year of opportunity and things like that for Saggies, I've worked with many this year that have told me very similar stories to what you're going through, that they feel this real isolation, they feel this real time of abandonment, that, the things that they thought were important and the people that they tried to help, and then all of a sudden they feel like they're on this deserted island by themselves. I'm sure there's a reason for all this, but I do know what I am being shown psychically is that you're at the,